I would like to just remind the board that we just got through going through our ethics. My understanding is this resolution, as presented before, I've seen it in several emails going back and forth from the North Carolina School Board Association. But we also have the National Education Association, and they discuss all the benefits of the smaller classrooms. I do not believe that we as a board have honestly even considered creatively combining the state and local funding resources or allocating resources and personnel to hire and to meet these legal obligations. As individual board members, and the ethics policy that we just read, when something gets trafficked through the School Board Association, and I get those as well, it's our job as individual board members, as stated in our own ethics and policy, to do our own research. I sent out over 40 references on how this can be done and the significance of having smaller school classrooms, having classrooms of smaller sizes. The number one thing that kind of stands out from all these things is the broad economic benefit, the benefits that are definitely outweigh the cost. The closing of the racial achievement gap, a 38% reduction in test score gaps in grades K-3, early identification of learning disabilities, fewer special education placements later on. There's improved high school graduations, fewer incarcerations, higher future earnings, increased college entrance taking exams. And there's a smaller gap in taking the college entrance test. There's improved student behavior, there's larger reduction in discipline referrals, and there's no reoccurring annual costs, or very minimal, once the smaller classes are established. My concern with this resolution is that we are basically just taking something that has been followed and sent down one email after another. It has turned into a political statement versus what is best for the children of Lee County. That's all my discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, there's absolutely nothing political about this. This is merely a request to let LEAs across the state implement this policy, which we all agree is in the very best interest of our students, but do it over an extended period of time rather than have to making all of these as of at the start of the 2018-2019 school year. It's simply an ask to give us time to make it happen.
So this is just a delay.
No, I do agree. I agree with that too, sir. My concern is that this resolution does not put a time restraint on it. If you look at New York and Rochester, they were able to do it within 4 years with no additional costs. There's multiple schools, even throughout the state of North Carolina, that I sent through the email as well. There's 12 schools that have done it as well. And if we would have said, within 4 years or the slow implementation, I can understand that. But I saw nothing in the resolution that stated we're willing to do this in a timely manner, without having an end state on it. Even if we said 4 years,
that the schedule is certainly not our job. The schedule is up to the state legislature. We're just asking them to implement a process by which we can make it happen over an extended period of time, and they would have to make that decision. We're not in charge of that.
Okay.
I guess the irony of that statement is that they did set the deadline. That's 2018-19, and I'm very interested in if the superintendent would like to speak to any of the numbers that I know we don't typically respond to any public comments, but if it is in fact true that our district is in compliance with the higher, with the expectation, then what purpose does this resolution serve for our students? Does that make sense? If we're already in compliance with the lower class sizes, is that true?
We each year we have been in compliance with what we need to do. Of course, right now we have a waiver that was approved tonight for the exploratory classes, for lack of a better term. But the thing that you have not been able to, or have not had to account for yet is the expansion of that into other grade levels for next year. I'm looking at Mr. Conway back there. And also the expansion of capital needs for next year.
Well, as we're already under a construction kind of process, I guess the question still stands for me is if we're meeting the standards currently, and if we're on course by 2019 to open a school, then that will naturally solve our class cap issues, yes, because we'll already have to staff a new school. The question I have, anytime there's a resolution, I want to know what the benefit of it is to our students, not just to jump on a bandwagon to say, look, we said it too, but whether it specifically applies to and forwards our schools. And I don't necessarily see where that's happening. We can say, yes, I agree with class size reduction, but that's really quite irrelevant. Last year we had the same conversation and they delayed it by 1 year. Now we get this delay and we're asking for another. And it really does seem like we're constantly saying, well, not today, maybe one day. And if we're meeting the standards already, I don't see any reason necessarily to sign a document that says, give us more time to meet the standards.
Mr. Conway, would you like to share some thoughts?
And while he's coming, the resolution indicates that we already have 35 mobile classrooms. To be in compliance at the start of the 2018-2019 school year, how many additional mobile units will we have to have?
Well, has anyone looked at the actual numbers? You know, as what I'm trying to get at when we were talking about compliance. In kindergarten, the compliance level is 18 to 21. We have 18. Grade 1, we have 16 to 19. We have 18. That's the only one that was different, a shift. Grade 2, we have it's supposed to be 17. It's 17 to 20. Grade 3, it's 17 to 20, and we're actually below, which is 16. That's great numbers, I think.
Can I let Mr.
Yes,
Conway
sir, I'm
speak?
finished, thank you.
Mr. Conway.
We comply with what the state is asking for this year, and that is that our class sizes in K3 be below 23. We cannot go over 23, and then that our system-wide average for grade levels be below 20. We comply with all of that except for in enhancement classrooms, a handful of enhancement classrooms. Next year, we will be expected to meet the 1 to 17 in kindergarten, 1 to 16 in first grade, 1 to 18 in second, and 1 to 18 in third. And we are not currently at that level across the school system. We meet this year's expectations,
but not next year.
Okay, that's the clarification that helps. What plans have been put into place irrespective of this request for expansion? And the reason I ask that is last year I had the opportunity to speak with the superintendent of schools and Mr. Mark Johnson, and he said, you know, the class size thing is what's best for the students. And I think, as you said, we all agree with that. To reduce class sizes is the best thing. He said that if it's just a matter of giving you more time to do it, he said that's a realistic request. He said, however, just asking for more time without making a good faith effort is not going to fly, which is why I think they put this clawback provision kind of, and why they're really big on that, is that if you make no effort to comply and just say, well, what are they going to do? They say, we're going to get you. And so that's the concern I have, is that if we're not showing a good faith effort and say, hey, we would love to meet this, but we don't have the land space for 40 new mobile trailers, or what good faith effort have we made in our hiring and our spacing and our staffing, etc., to meet it?